Let's just say that if I knew the information I want to share with you in this video today, who knows how much further ahead I'd be. And so to save you the next 15 years of your art life while you watch me draw this today, I want to share with you 15 lessons I've learned about art and about being an artist from teaching artists like you for the last 15 years. And by the end of this video, you'll learn how to get earlier and long-term success. First off, let me just rip the Band-Aid off this one. And listen, I was your typical art brat when I was growing up. But what I mean by that is that I only wanted to do exactly what was of interest to me. I was a big time anime lover. I used to go ahead and only make anime artwork. I wanted to learn more about it. And unfortunately, no school curricula supported that one. And this might be you too, with your interests, with your materials, with your passions, and just there's nothing that really supports it. And then you might be in structures too, like a school or a class or whatever, and it just doesn't align to what you want. And then I kind of learned later on in life, especially through teaching it, creativity does not flourish just doing what you want. And I know that this is really contrary to what a lot of people wish was the truth. You actually demonstrate higher levels of creativity and higher sustained levels of creativity from you being put into places outside of what you normally like to do or would do without any type of provocation for it. And so just to put this into an outside context, let's just put this through the lens of like any show or game or movie that you watch, right? Does the main character just grow and expand and become so much better and so much stronger through doing the same exact thing, living the same exact life that they started at the beginning of that journey at the end? No, they're often thrust into different situations. One of the things I learned is that if you're only going to do what you want, then you should expect to stay exactly how you are with the limitations that you currently have for the next perceivable infinite amounts of time. And you will make some gains, but it will be very minimal compared to what you would be. And so for those of you that are taking commissions, those of you that are given specs, those of you that are being told what to do at school, that is not a detriment to your creativity. It is actually your expansion potential from it. Now, that's not to say that you can't also do what you want, but that's the point of it too, is so that while you're being given those specs or you're being given specific tasks and things to do, you can still work on that outside. But don't just think that you should bemoan the fact that you're not getting to do exactly what you want all the time. Now, to be totally honest with you here, even if you're like looking at my stuff now or you've been following me for a while, you think my stuff is cool, I just want to straight up let you know, I was never the best artist in any of my classes, any of my courses. Literally at any point in my life, I don't think I've ever been celebrated as like that person. And if you've never been, that's okay too. Because the next lesson I've learned that I want to share with you is that most artists that you know are going to quit. And so therefore, there is no such thing as a failure in art. There are only quitters. And by the way, all the artists that you really look up to, that you really admired in your courses, in your classes, or just socially online, just to be totally honest, there's no indicator that their early success will translate into adult and long-term success. In fact, most of them will just give up. That's the honest truth. And so just to present it to you like this, okay? Literally 80% of every artist that you will ever meet will not be an artist in the next 5 to 10 years when I look at the data from it. And the reason why that is, it's got nothing to do with art. It's got nothing to do with their ability to succeed or to make money from it. It's literally because of the psychosocial journey that they have to go through in order to be an artist. In other words, what they have to go through as a human being, it's always human problems that impact them. And so therefore, they're going to give up. And so if you're the person right now who's like, well, I can't get commissions, or I can't get into that business, or I can't get anybody to buy my stuff, or I can't get into the art industry, listen, that's inevitable. You are going to face these concerns. It is going to happen to you. That is not some type of huge setback nor signal from the universe saying you can't do it. It's just the fact that it's going to happen to you. And failure is a form of feedback. If you're not experiencing enough failures, you are not applying or trying beyond what you think you're capable of. And that's something that I had to learn too, because of the fact that, like just as an example here, I used to look at all these artists that would make tons of money on their artwork and be like, I'll never get there. I don't even know how to do this. I'm stuck here earning like $35 for commissions. How am I ever gonna get to 200? And now, fast forward 10 years later into freelancing, I can command up to $1,500. But me going through that process, it helped me lead myself into developing the processes that I share for you, the techniques that I want to show you, the portfolio tips that I give y'all too, so that you can maximize that and so that you can be a great artist, whether or not you want to sell your stuff or not. And if you're into that, by the way, please hit that like and subscribe. And if this is helping you, please share it with another artist that you know so that we can help impact them positively too. But if you're afraid right now that you are a complete art failure, you're not. The only way to achieve that successfully is to just quit, because most artists will. Moving on now, we're gonna tackle a subject that I have long-term dealt with. And listen, as a creative and as an artist here, you have amazing ideas, don't you? I bet you do. Let me know what it is down below. Like, do you have a great idea for a story that you wanna write? Do you have a great idea for a game you wanna make? Do you have a great idea for a manga or a comic or just some bomb illustrations? Because the next truth that I've learned about myself, and through when I was going through everything that came to me in life after the fact that I had these great ideas, is that honestly, nobody cares about your ideas. The only thing that matters is what you do. And just to put this into context, there would be so many more millionaires in this world. There would be so many more producers of art if ideas actually mattered. There would be so many people, I'm sure, that would be a lot kinder or would be regarded much higher if their thoughts actually mattered. But that's not the way the world works. In fact, the only thing that you will ever be known, celebrated, or recognized for is what you do with those ideas. And that's where most artists will fall short. Myself included, okay? Listen, I've had so many ideas for, I wanted to make a comic at one point, I wanted to assist with the game at one point, I wanted to look into this, and I didn't do it. And so that's where I kind of had to learn how to channel my energy and say, okay, Sean, what do you want to do? What do you actually want to labor towards? And so let me just tell you this, perhaps from where you are in life right now to where you could be, is that you will never get a greater sense of satisfaction from you actually working towards it and you actually laboring at that thought craft that you had. Because far too many times do artists think that their ideas actually matter. And that kind of goes into like putting in too much time into the thought work of what you want to make. Just start it. Nobody cares and nobody will ever see anything that you imagine until you actually sit down and produce it. And if you object to this, let me just challenge you. How many people do you know that have great ideas and have pulled the trigger on 0 of them? That's the point. Your thoughts, your imagination, and what your great ideas are, they just don't matter until you produce something of them. So now, just like you, I've gone through my times where I'm just fighting an image. And I feel, just to be honest with you, I feel a lot of resistance, I feel a lot of anxiety towards every artwork that I make before I make it. And then sometimes too, I'll just hit this plateau where I'm like, I'm not sure I can do this. I'm not sure that I have it in me to complete this to how I want to do it. And I'm not sure too if this is gonna come out the way that I expect it to, and then God forbid, y'all know the ugly phase. Every artwork passes through the ugly phase. And sometimes you have to stay in the ugly phase for a while, am I right? And so that's why the next realization that I wanna share with you is that your work reveals the way. If you are somebody who always abandons the artwork at the same point, if you're somebody who only does it to a certain completion point and then done, not anymore. If you're somebody right now who keeps on stopping at the same amount of time, if you're looking at all of your heroes in art and you're like, oh my God, how are they able to do that? But I'm so frustrated that I can only work for 2 hours at a time before I get bored with the piece. Yo, please hear me out on this right now. Your work will reveal the way. The more that you work towards something, the more that you refine your work, the more that you refine your processes. That's how you get there. That is how you will achieve the satisfaction that you want, or the recognition that you want, or the followers that you want, or the money that you want. It's through that work. There is no substitute for work. And if you're not working towards it, then you're avoiding it. So then listen, if this is you, friend, here's my suggestion for you. Just do what I call 20-minute sprints and just sit down if you're lost and confused and just work 20 minutes at something that you think that you can do. If you're somebody who keeps on rendering out the same area for 3 hours, please stop that, unless that's actually something that you need to take that amount of time on. So just as an example, one of the things that I typically do, like you see me doing this artwork here, is I tend to work in waves. And so this is my personal technique I'll share with you, is that oftentimes as I'm trudging through that ugly phase like you will, what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, look, I'm gonna work 20 minutes in this section, and 20 minutes here, and 20 minutes on the hair, and 20 minutes on the feet, and 20 minutes on the hands. And then I force myself to just keep going around and around and around. And inevitably, it will come together. But that ugly phase, it's gonna happen. The only way you're gonna get out of it is through working your way through it, not avoiding it, complaining about it, putting yourself down. Watch out for all that stuff like we'll talk about today. Moving on. Let's talk about one of the most commonly thrown around phrases, which is that you might be afraid of overworking your piece. Is this you? Have you ever said, oh, I don't want to overwork the area, or I feel like this is too overworked, or this area right here, this just feels so overworked. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like as an art educator and as an artist, I hate this phrase. It just sounds so dumb, and I think it is dumb. I'm gonna explain to you why. Because one of the things I've learned is that there's no such thing as overworking. There's only working confused. And from another outlook, what that typically means, as I've seen thousands of artists do this over my career, is that what you're doing is you're typically putting all of your time, energy into something that does not matter. And I've seen this especially with like illustrations. People will go ahead and I've done this too, like spend like hours and hours and hours on this little tiny thing in the background. And then you zoom out and nobody even notices it. Or it's also the fact that you keep on working confused and you're like, let me try it this way. Does it look like this? Does it look like that? And then that goes back to, did you get references? Are you just guessing at what this looks like? Because your brain sucks at organizing information and at representing it if it doesn't understand it, okay? And so the best way I can put this to you is that if you feel like you're overworking, just ask yourself this: what am I confused about? What do I need more clarity with? Because I guarantee you, there is no such thing as overworking a piece. It's only that you don't know how to do it, and therefore you're usually gambling with yourself and hoping that something comes out. Maybe it will, but most often it just doesn't. And that goes from anybody that's an amateur to a professional. So if you're thinking this, the reality is asking yourself, like, is this the focus? Is this what I need to put my time into? And am I clear on it? If the answer is no to any of these, then stop what you're doing, jump into that pre-production for a minute, get some really clear images of how you want it to look, and then jump into it. Okay, now let's talk about a big issue that I hear so many artists come up against. And have you ever felt burnt out? Are you afraid of being burnt out by your art? And I've dealt with that too. I've definitely had those moments where there are definitely more valleys than peaks. I've hit those moments where I'm being more productive than others. I've had those moments where I avoid art and moments where I can't get enough of it. And you might assign that to burnout. And the thing that I want to let you know at this point that I've learned from my own experiences and from many other artists is that burnout is not an art issue. It is never an art issue. It is always a human issue. The reason why, and I can get this from all the conversations I've had from people I've worked with, is that when I really dig down to it, and I'll be like, why? Why do you feel that way? Oh, you want to abandon your art? Why? Tell me about that. What's really at the core of this? It always comes down to being nothing about the art. And they'll be like, I'm tired, or I'm frustrated, or I'm anxious, or I have this exterior situation. And oftentimes, we tend to put all of that pressure onto our art, and the art becomes an innocent bystander for the violence of our life. And for you as a creative, I really want to urge you right now to consider this. You don't want your art to be collateral damage, do you? Because that's, again, another reason why people quit. It's the most often reason why people quit. And even if you're in an art industry, and especially for those of you that like have an art job like me, and then you come home and you do more art, you can feel this way. And I have a lot of strategies for you about how you combat that. But at the outset, just please understand this. Art burnout is not a thing. You are just a human being. You are going to experience this. It is inevitable. But art burnout is not what you think. It is not the problem of your art and your craft, nor your success or failure in it. It's because of something else that you're feeling. Have you considered that? Next, I want to share with you something that I've learned from honestly spending thousands of dollars on mentors, and I think that this will help really put into perspective what you need to do to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Because if you're creative right now, and especially if you have something that you are creating or you're wanting to create for a commercial purpose or for your own gain or just for your own satisfaction, it's all the same, okay? The thing that you are gonna wrestle up against is what you have to do to get there. And one of the things that I really want to share with you is that you need to redefine what you think hard work and effort is. Because we honestly have a lot of us, and especially from working with many artists, we have a poor conception of what hard work is. What does effort look like? And what level of effort do you need to get to what you want to do and to actually finish it? And so just to give you a few examples here, when I was getting to a good point in my mentorship and getting people enrolled into it, I eventually hit a point where I had to start a wait list because unfortunately, an employee of one. And so I can't multiply myself, at least that I know of. And so I had to start a wait list. And I actually felt bad about that. And then my mentor, Adam Duff, told me that his wait list was 2 years. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't feel so bad about it a few months then in that case. And then also when I worked with Tyler Edlin, one of the things that we talked about was how much time I was putting into my artwork versus where I wanted to go. And one of the things he told me is that a lot of the artists that I looked up to were spending 30, 40 hours on their artwork. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense because I'm spending 10 to 12. And so I can also put this through this perspective of what it takes for you to get into a healthy point in your freelance business. And I used to look at oh, well, all these people are doing, 20 commissions for $20. And I was like, no, that's stupid. I would much rather do one commission for $400 and it would work out the same. And I would put in more effort and yield a higher result from it. And so the hardest thing that you're gonna have to grapple with is that it will take more effort than you think, but you learning how to do that is something that you will build a lot of resistance to over time. Not all at once, but every single time that you think you're doing everything that you can, just let that be a signal to ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, what can you do more? But also, here's another one. How do you do this easier? So many artists are major masochists for work, but you never stop and ask yourself, how can I do this easier? And I've done this for people that I work with in my mentorship, especially just helping them with better processes and better ways for them to conduct their business, just to free up all that creative labor. And if you want to learn about that more, by the way, go ahead and check out the link in my description for more about my mentorship. But if you are really just hardlining yourself saying, this is it, this is all I can do, and I can't do anything more, what I would really urge you to consider is what you think your level of effort is and what are you also putting your effort into that's completely worthless. Because if your creativity matters to you, you have to labor towards it. This next one is definitely a more contemporaneous issue. It's something that we're all wrestling with right now. And the next realization I've come to, especially from working with students and working with my own mentees, is that AI is of absolutely no use to artists. Not at any point, not in any process, and it will never serve you. You serve it. And so I hear a lot of artists, especially nowadays, say oh, well, I just need to look up the reference, or I needed to I can't see what this is. And I just want to put this out there for you. You're viewing this totally wrong. That part of your problem, the problem is the most valuable part of your artistic process. As an artist, your job is to create problems and then find plausible solutions, not truths, but just solutions to them that can work. And so if you are using AI for concepts, for early sketches, you're robbing yourself of what will actually strengthen yourself. If you're looking it up for references, a lot of times too, I hear artists say well, I don't use AI for my final process, but I just use it for references. It's all crooked. It's all bad in the same use. It's all going to the same morally corrupt companies. You're always training it on how to be better than you because it loves the fact that you feel inferior to it. I see a lot of artists trying to walk this mental plank of well, I'm not using AI, but I kind of am, and I just want to put it out there like this. If you use drugs just to take the edge off, you're still a drug user. If you use AI just to look up references, you're still using AI for the same purpose of robbing it from artists. And most importantly, you're robbing it from yourself. You actually understanding how to light something or how something would look or what that creature would look like when you mash up these components, that is the most valuable thing for you. You will never advance from using AI. You will, especially in a job setting, you will never get anything from using this software. It's not going to help you. It's not helping artists right now. And in fact, every industry is now saying, nope, don't even want to see it. In fact, I've seen a lot of art directors say that if you submit anything with AI, instantly they look it right over. And it saves them a lot of time. So I guess you're doing them that. But for yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors here. Be smart, stay creative, believe in yourself. Don't use this crap. Piggybacking off an earlier point now, when you are producing artwork for somebody else, for a class, for a client, anything in between, one of the things that you're probably going to say, as I've said this too, is that, well, I wish I could just do what I want. And oftentimes I do work with artists that say, Sean, help me learn how to do what I want. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And the way that you get there through doing things that are assigned to you, spec that's given to you, work that's given to you, etc., is I've learned that you need to go ahead and own every artwork. And so just to be very specific on this for you, here we go. What this is not you just doing exactly what the client wants, is not you doing exactly what the spec is not you only doing what you were given permission to from. One of the things I've learned to do, and I've promoted on other videos on this channel exactly how to do this, by the way, is you have to take a look at all those specs and say, how can I make this better? How can I make this more fun? Or even when you have that awful strict client, the one that is just like the overlord of you, that they feel at least, is to go ahead and lock into like at least one part and be like, I love this part. How do I do that? Every single artwork that you make is a potential, an expansion point for you, if you will, for how you will make the next one at a higher level or a higher price tag. But if you are only doing what you were asked, then you are really shortcutting yourself for your potential, y'all. So please don't fall into that trap. Next, as somebody who definitely has this huge channel about how to grow and connect with other artists, and especially to make some money here, I want you to serve yourself economically. I want you to serve yourself humanistically. I want you to serve yourself creatively. I want to talk to you about one of the biggest traps that I've learned about how you are going to monetize your art. And the biggest thing that you have to understand at the outset is that you have to have a good relationship with your art. I've learned this through my years, and I just think about this too. Like when I was young, I just enjoyed making art. I enjoy the process. I enjoy creating just alone. And when I see so many artists do nowadays too, and I've kind of helped people through and how to get them into better niches or better fields or better industries that they like more artistically, is that they'll hop into something because they need to, or they want to, or that they think it's going to be easy money. That especially goes for y'all that are like in a niche that you hate. This is never a good idea because you're just never going to grow from there. And my realization was that if you don't have a good relationship with your art, you should do that before you monetize it. You will hate the work, you will hate the labor, you will hate every single day, you will get bored, you will abandon it. And again, this does not mean that you have to love everything about every artwork or spec that you're given or job that you have to do and tasks you have to make. No, but if you don't have just a real good working relationship with your art, it's just not going to work out, y'all. It's like if you were to go ahead and have kids with somebody that you have a really terrible relationship with. Kids are not going to fix it. Money's not going to fix your art. It's not going to make you more motivated. It's not going to keep you in it either. Even being paid for art, it becomes work. And if you're only doing it just to make a buck, there's better ways to make a buck, just to be honest with you. But if you love it, you will find a lot of ways that you love to make a lot of bucks, okay? But not before you have that pre-established relationship with it, because you are literally going to be married to this for the rest of your perceivable life. Next, just like you, I get confused sometimes. And as I'm drawing everything, even now in my current state, 30 years later after being an artist, and especially like while I'm watching students create art, I'm helping people in my mentorship, so on and so forth, I tend to notice that at some point you hit this brick wall of confusion. You just hit this point where it's like, I don't know what to do. Do you feel this too? And so one of the things that I've learned through my own self-practice and through guiding people out of this zone of confusion is that references are always the issue. Very seldom time is it actually something way beyond that? And I mean, like 99% of the time, the concern is a lack of actual references. And this is where I can state this very affirmatively from literally years of doing this, is that when somebody asks me, Sean, why doesn't this look right? Sean, I really hate the way that this looks. If you're telling yourself that, the issue is that you don't know what it looks like. And so just to put this into a frame of reference that you can digest here, one of the things I've learned is that your brain can only recall. It can't actually like completely innovate something from just absolute nowhere. You can't just pull it out of your butt and say, here's my amazing, creative, innovative artwork. No, instead, your brain and your imagination specifically, what is the root word of imagine? Image. If your brain has never been exposed to something, never seen it, it cannot image it. Therefore, it cannot create it. And so the only way that your brain works as an artist, as a creative, is that you have to combine things that you've been exposed to. And so this is where too, if you're like, well, Sean, my stuff doesn't look good, or hey, I just don't know how to make this look better. This is where it always comes back to references. How many are you getting too? Like, for example, are you that person who's working out of 2 or 3 because you watch Sam Does Art do it? Well, guess what? You're not him. So you can't function like that because he's got thousands in his brain. And the same thing with you too. Like, just as an example, I don't even start a work without 20 to 30. And if you want like specific step-by-steps on how to do this and how this can make you less anxious and more clear, let me know down below in the comments. Happy to produce that video. I've got that one locked and loaded for like years. I just don't know if there's enough interest in it. And the thing I would also expose you to that I've learned is this. Every single time that I've hit that wall of like, this doesn't look right, I don't know what to do, that's my signal not to just abandon the work or switch into something else. No, it's my signal to go get some more, because it's always about the references. Next, one of the things that I tend to find so many artists, and myself included, really fall into this giant pit that they just can't pull themselves out of, has to do with the initial phase of every single project. So you probably have a great illustration you're working on. You might even be drawing while you're listening to this. If this is you, let me know, because I'd love to hear that and what you're working on. And so while you're doing that though, one of the things that I tend to notice a lot of artists do, and they'll spend an insane amount of time on, because this leads me into my next realization, is that you need to value production over pre-production. And y'all, you can get so lost, and I've done this too. Have you ever gone down that like 3-hour Google image search rabbit hole, or just gone on just an entire day of looking on Pinterest or looking just for these outstanding references, and you're literally searching for like the holy grail of images, and you're like, oh, is that it? Is this it? Should I use this? And should I use that? Or could be this? And you keep on clicking, and then you click into the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Before you know it, like your whole day is over, you haven't done anything. And that kind of ties itself into that thought labor we talked about, right? Your pre-production, and specifically your references, serve 3 purposes. First off, for you to go ahead and get some specifics, okay? So like exactly what's gonna be in there, and exactly what you think you need to know, and exactly what little details like hands, or faces, or hair, whatever, you need to know those specifics. And second, you wanna be inspired. You want a heavy mood. What's the color palette? What's the composition? Where do all the elements lead me? And then number 3, to expand what you thought was possible. So many times as artists, we get locked into, this is exactly it, and this is exactly what I imagine, and this is exactly what it's gonna be. And you need to use references to really expand your mind to say, oh, it could be this, and it could be that, and I didn't think about this, or it could be that too. But that pre-production time, y'all, here's my big time advice for you. Before you start anything, yeah, you need to go ahead and look up a healthy dose of references comprising those 3 things. Personally, myself, I like to also comprise it of both artworks, actual photography, and 3D models. Just an even assortment of those. And then give yourself 1 hour to do it. My greatest tip for you is to go ahead and use what I call the 2-minute rule. If you're gonna go ahead and search on Google for anything, do not allow yourself more than 2 minutes to look through any specific search term. And if you find yourself going beyond 2 minutes, then you have to stop and refine your search phrase. Again, if you want a whole video on how to do this better, let me know down below. But overall, your pre-production phase, it serves a purpose of paving the road for you to clearly go down your creative pursuit. It should not be extremely time consuming, or you're putting too much energy into the wrong part. And why is that? Because pre-production is easier than production. That's what I learned, and I hope you learned that too. Now, I want to share this tip for you because I really struggled with this for a long time. And it has to do with what you're doing through your process and instead of your artistic process. So while you're working, what are you typically doing? What does your room look like? And what's going on around you? A lot of times what I used to do when I was especially younger is I would have like the TV going or I would also have some music playing. I would have my phone up right next to me too. I get those notifications, boom, I gotta go ahead, check that, stop my workflow. And then, I get another one, boom, check that, gotta stop my workflow. And you know how it goes. If you're watching something, inevitably, you're going to look over to it, which then takes you off of whatever you're actually working on. And the next realization that I came to here that I wanna share with you is that working overstimulated is killing your creativity. Y'all, if you've ever told yourself this beautiful white lie, that you are a multitasker, research suggests that that's absolute crap and garbage. People, like the vast majority of people, more than 90% of people, are not multitaskers. Most people do what's called switch tasking. And what that means is that what your brain is doing is it's focusing on one thing to another, to another, to another. And so if you have a lot of stimulus and you've got multiple screens going where there's different things and different noises to take your time and attention away, it's basically the equivalent of like me or you trying to work while you also have 8 children all pulling at you. You're not gonna get much done. There's a reason why I literally only work on my artwork like this when my whole family is asleep, because I need that focus. And one of the things that I would share with you that's really helped me is to really quiet myself while I'm working. And so just to introduce this scary topic to you, it's called boredom. All right, so like the more that you embrace the fact that there is no external stimuli, that there's nothing that's pulling you away. And then also, just to put this out for you too, is that if you're overstimulated with other media outside of your art process, well, guess what? That's gonna take you away from your art too. You feel this pull, you feel this draw, you feel this FOMO, and I used to feel it too. But just to be real with you, nobody cares what games I beat 20 years ago. Nobody will care what you watch today either. Nobody will care what level you got to or what game that you platinum trophied. It doesn't matter. But you know what's gonna make you really feel good about yourself and actually impress other people and actually get you what you want in life is you achieving what you want artistically, from you bringing that creative energy into your craft. That is long-term awesomeness right there. But I would strongly urge you that if you're doing this, you're training your brain out of the mode of producing and putting it into the mode of consuming. And you are not gonna bring out your best by doing that. Next, let's talk about one of the worst mistakes I see artists do literally all the time. And that's how you talk to yourself. And so tell me this, do you put yourself down? Do you say your artwork is bad, it's stupid, oh, this looks like trash, oh, I hate this, oh, I feel bad for the tree that died, for this piece of crap to be made? Well, one of the things that I've come to, and I had to stop doing this myself, because I used to say all these things too, and I've come to the realization that you need to watch the way that you talk to your art, and especially, how about the way you talk to other artists? How about the communities that you're in? How about the topics that come up? And how about some of the weirdest, most ludicrous things that some artists believe, and we still believe to this day? And so just to go over that in a little bit greater detail, I made this entire video for you right here about the dumbest things artists say and believe that just aren't true. So go ahead and go check that out. And if this helped you, please share with someone that you know. Thanks so much and see you next time.